everybody, it is Romania Black, and I was gonna wear a Christmas sweater today because, one, I have to go to a Christmas thing tonight. Two, if you're watching this on Patreon, next week is Christmas. And three, if you're watching it on YouTube, then it's the post-Christmas thing. But then I realized I've wore blue every Saturday and every Sunday I've been watching Blue Lock this entire season, so why am I gonna stop now? So, I'm in my punk rock blue phase, Blue Lock phase. This jacket is technically blue, even though it doesn't show it up. You can tell the difference between black and blue on here, right? And I feel like it's super appropriate to be kind of punk this week because last week, everybody was just going in the zone. Everybody was getting in the flow of things, and it's the penultimate episode of the season. Technically not the penultimate episode. Next week, episode 13 is the penultimate episode, but it's the penultimate week for us with Blue Lock because next week is going to be 2 episodes, 13 and 14 together. I've heard it's coming out consecutively, so I'm going to watch it consecutively as it's meant to happen. So I'm pretty excited about that. But before we dive into that, we need to talk about several comments that have popped up through Patreon and YouTube and kind of go over those. So let's start with Honakana. Honakana says, if you've read any other works by Kaneshiro, the mangaka, you will find out that Blue Lock is written like this because he's genuinely a fudanshi. All of his shonens are blatantly homoerotic. Good for him. I ain't turning it down. I ain't saying no to it. No, absolutely not. Hanakana also says, for clarification, when Ryusei says heartthrob, you can hear him say in Japanese, which is kyundesu. The word heartthrob is pretty accurate, but with a bit more context, it makes what he said even sweeter. Kyundesu is not really a word, but an onomatopoetic expression that's used to describe the sound of your heart tightening when it's being choked up with a feeling of love or attraction. So yeah, I mean, Ryusei and Sai at this point, is there any contest? They are like Nagi and Reo. They are canon. As far as I'm concerned, there are no allegations to be beaten. It's just, that's how they are. Although, with that being said, if any of you are AMVA people out there, I would do this if I had the time. One day I may do it if I have the time, but now I need a Ryusai AMV to Put 'em by Kylie Minogue. I just need this. So those are my post season 2 goals, is to work while we're in the hiatus on Blue Lock, to work on a little short. I don't have shorts on my channel, but if I do, maybe I'll do a little AMV shorts, and that'll be my shorts, and we'll just do one to Padum by Kylie Minogue for Ryusai, because it seems perfect. So if no one else creates it, I will create it. It'll just take me forever. Z-Quasidios says that Isagi adopted Rin's mentality of saying losing is the same as dying. Yeah, when he was talking to Ego in the last episode, I was like, oh yeah! Isagi is like sponging and soaking up Rin's creative juices. Do with that what you will. But yeah, that was really cool to point out, so I'm glad that you said that. And then Baron said this: the fact that Sai never rejects Ryusei's advances, but instead conditions them. The fact that Ryusei is so unabashedly and unapologetically vocal and expressive in his canonical heavy attraction to Sai. Ryusei's relationship is sexual in nature, especially because for Ryusei, soccer is a sexual act in itself. Ryusei is just canon, and there's no denying it in any way. Nope. I mean, I know some people on the Discord are Ryu-Rin shippers. Y'all can have it. I'm glad for you, but you can't tell me this isn't a thing. I cannot. They're so canon. If this were a BL, they'd already be literally having sex on the soccer field. They pretty much are already, but it'd be much more explicit. But yeah. Ann says that as a registered #1, okay, I knew this was coming, so here we go. As the #1 registered Yukimiya fan, I can't say I'm not a bit disappointed, but I guess it is what it is. That solo run was incredible and was against 4 defenders, 1 goalkeeper, and he would have scored if Aiku hadn't also gone with the flow. My baby deserves better. Okay, look. I was so caught up in the moment, and I think because Kinyu kept saying there was the word fake on the screen, and I was like, is this the flow or is it just him trying to artificially create it? And I don't don't know. I feel like the animation kind of rushed through that moment. Did anybody else think that? Like with Ryusei, there's pretty much like giant arrows being like in the flow, impregnating bitches like every 5 seconds. And then with Aiku, it was like this beautiful dramatic moment. Maybe with Kinyu, I just wasn't paying attention enough. And I'm gonna be honest, I have nothing against Kinyu. He's a fine character. He's okay. In the words of Columbia and Rocky Horror Picture Show, he's okay. But he's not one of my favorites. And so I feel just kind of like, I feel like some of you in the Discord and commenting, you know Kinyu more from the manga perhaps. And you have to remember, I don't know the manga. I don't know anything that happens beyond this episode. So if there are Kinyu moments that make him the most amazing character, I've not seen them yet. So I don't know them. Please don't spoil them. But he's fine. But he's just fine to me. Like, he's not one of my favorite characters. I'm not like, oh my God, the Kinyu content. Yeah, I kind of feel for Kinyu, I guess like I felt for Kunigami last season. Kunigami was like one of the better characters and I loved him, but I wasn't like buying his merch, you know? Whereas, and I think maybe one of the things that probably hurts Kinyu in my mind is Blue Lock for me is pure shipping. And so I don't have anyone to ship Kinyu with. I'm just like, well, you can't have Nagi. He's over here with Reo, even though you'd like that. And Tobito and Ada are over here vying over either Chigiri or Hiyori, so you can't be there. So maybe if I had someone to ship Kinyu with, it would get me to pay attention to him more. But I am sorry. I guess he maybe possibly went into the flow. My other thing was that, like, Isagi calls out, oh, Aiku's in the flow. And Ego's like, oh, Ryusei's the first one to go in the flow. Nobody says that Kinyu's in the flow. Nobody calls it out. Nobody's like, oh my God, our teammate's going in the flow. No one says it. So it's like, did it actually happen or was he just thinking that he was? A lot of people pointed out the animation around the eyes signifies it. And I'm like, okay, but I guess because the show didn't make a fanfare of it, I wasn't like, oh my God. But I feel sorry. If you're a Kinyu fan, I apologize for not appreciating him as much as you do. I am just a casual viewer. I have my favorites, and y'all just gotta know that. But the animation should have treated him better. Let's put it that way. And then finally, Gin says, I really love the constant reminders of how Ryusei's way of playing football is so unorthodox and unconventional compared to how normal players play that no one is able to keep up with him throughout this process and his decision making. He's even more outside of the norm than what Ego tried to make the Blue Lock players into. This is also why Blue Lock couldn't be a place that would make Ryusei evolve and get better. No one there could understand the way he played. Everyone he played with in Blue Lock tried to change his play style and change him to better fit their own game instead of trying to make use of what he was good at to their own advantage. There was nobody there who could make him challenge himself in a way that was specific to his play style and make him surpass his own limits. And then comes Sai. And Gin says, Sai, who sees him, who says, is this the best you can do? Who challenges him, but at the same time doesn't ask him to change who he is. Doesn't ask him to fit the mold, to become a more conventional player, to limit himself to what others think is possible and how the game should look like. He looks at him and says, go wild, don't stop. I'll be here to help bring your vision to reality. And the rest is history. That's such a beautiful tribute to Ryusei. It's also one of the reasons I love them so much because, yeah, Sai's just like, cool, I can work with this. And I think it also helps Sai because Ryusei doesn't try to follow Sai. Ryusei is not like Rin and kind of sticking to him like a shadow. He is trying to stick to him though, but for other reasons. And Ryusei isn't trying to say like, we have to do this or that. He's just like, okay, cool, you tell me what to do and I'm going to do it. And it's like, okay. So Gin also says about substitutions, because I asked about that in the last video. In official matches since 2020, there are 5 substitutions allowed during the whole game. With it, sometimes changing to 6 in the finals of competitions, but only if the game goes into extra time. Before 2020, only 3 subs were allowed for the whole game, and that is the rule that Blue Lock sticks to, with Blue Lock taking place in 2018. So yeah, I feel like having watched Ace of the Diamond as well as Haikyuu, we were talking about it in the Discord that there are some rules and things that have changed since COVID with both Ace of the Diamond and Haikyuu, but the series, those sports anime are set in a particular time period, so they kind of adhere to those rules, and Blue Lock is following suit with that, which is pretty cool. So yeah, so we've had our 3 subs on their team. We've had Barou now, Rayo, and Hiyori. So they can't sub anybody else back in. Those what you got. And so really the only sub we've had on U20 side is Ryusei. But then again, that's kind of like the only sub they needed. So it is what it is. That's interesting to know, though. I think that's really good to know. Also, it's kind of smart for a I feel like it's smart to... It may not seem like it, but I think it's smart for a series to position itself in a certain time frame sometimes, because then while that feels limiting in a sense, it also gives you some parameters to work with. Like if this were taking place during a real time frame, like in the moment, the mangaka would have to constantly be looking up like rule changes and things that are, and keeping up with like modern trends and things like that. But if you position yourself in a very specific time period, you kind of, while it seems like you're limited to that time period, you also have those parameters to work with. And if people complain, you can be like, well, it's taking place in 2018, so technically this is how it has to be. And then everybody's like, oh, okay. So smart on the creator, smart on them to be doing that. So I've talked for over 10 minutes. So I'm so excited, y'all. Oh, this feels so good. I'm going to sweat through this jacket. I can tell you that right now. But I'll just have to cool off with some blue Kool-Aid after this, right? Also, I wanted to wear this jacket because it's blue on the outside, but on the inside it's red. So we got our U20 representation as well. So anyway, I hope you all are excited. I can't believe this is the second to last week that I'm watching Blue Lock Season 2. I do have, before we start this real quick, because some people have asked about it, Truck and Wim, who is our moderator for the channel for Blue Lock, and Truck, who has been amazing with During Kuroko's Basketball, translating audio dramas and guidebooks and helping Anime Annie to get all that content ready. They have been amazing. And them and Wim have agreed to get me the first 2 light novels of Blue Lock translated. So at some point, somewhere down the line, those are going to come out. So please no spoilers about the light novels or the manga, obviously, but do not worry. At some point, the light novels are already translated. So I will be looking at those at some point this spring while we're on hiatus from Blue Lock. So if you're subscribed to the channel, you will eventually see those pop up, and I'll probably talk about them in the channel updates as we go. So yeah, anyway, that's all I wanted to say before starting this, but we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to dive into Blue Lock episode 12, baby. And what we going to do? We got like, what, 20 minutes left? Who knows? And we are going to do that here as soon as I get this up in 3, 2, 1. And I'll see you all on the other side. All right. Super excited. Oh, we're just starting. Just starting with the intro, eh? Flowers. Now, next week, I'm assuming I can look at the OP. Oh. Oh, it's Aiku. Oh. Hmm. Oh. Ah. Oh, the flower. Oh. Ooh. Oh, wow. Oh, little baby Aiku. And then we clip the flower. Hmm. Oh, wow. Wow. Oh. That they can't control the blossom. Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. But that's not what he wanted. Oh, I love the saxophone music. Mm. Oh. Oh. It's not too different than Sindo's dream. You two could be together, you know, and have that dream together. Oh. Oh. Wow, because you told him he couldn't back then. Oh. Damn. Oh. Oh. Hmm. These boring strikers. Oh. Something that's his own. Okay. 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 Oh, there's Reen. There we go. Okay. Oh my gosh. Ah! I love it's green like the blooms, like the flowers. Oh. Oh, okay. Poor Sindo. Oh. Oh my gosh. All these stats. Oh, wow. Isagi. Oh, you're shipping them too, huh? Aren't you? Ah. Ooh. Wow. Okay. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. What are you gonna do, Isagi? Yeah. Oh, oh. Ah. I love that his hair is like the green of the stem and then the flower on it, which is a blue flower, so shut up. I mean, he can fire from any direction. Oh. Oh. Oh my god. Yeah, right? Let's get in formation. Come on, Beyonce. Let's do this. Come on. Quit giving yourselves pats in the back and score the damn goal. Oh, oh, Jujubee. Get it, Jujubee. Don't get cocky. Oh. Ah. So shut up. You haven't even said anything. Oh my god. Yeah, that's problem. Oh yeah, and he's on a timer. Oh my god. Shit! Shit! Oh my god. Well, don't say that around him! Yes! Oh, Gain. Oh my god. Don't limit him! Oh, okay, yeah! Oh, shit! Shit! Oh! Hell yeah! Oh, Gain, good job, Gain! Oh, shut up! Ah! Oh! Get it, bitch! Work, bitch! Do it! Ah! Ah! Oh! Oh! Oh, you're welcome, sir. That's right, Rayo. Get it. All right. Yeah, right. Come on, we gotta tie this game. Oh. Are you talking about yourself, Isagi? Oh, I like the concept of Isagi being a Grim Reaper. Like, be a little shrimp Grim Reaper. Oh, Barou! Yes, that's what he's been told to do. No, there's not. Ah! Oh, the insult. Oh, God. Isagi's got to get past the head patrol officer. Okay. Oh my god, really? Okay! I'm terrified of Barou in the flow. That sounds terrifying. Oh! I love the ground as puzzle pieces. Isagi's thinking of all of this in the span of milliseconds. Okay, right. That's the trick. That's the trick. Oh my god. Alright, come on. Come on, boys, don't fuck this up. Don't screw this up. Oh, hi. Why not? Reen's like, I'm not used to this. Oh! Come on! Oh! He's just floating! Like damn Princess Peach! What? How do you have time? god, this music was so damn dramatic! Oh! Oh! Oh my god! Oh my god! Get it with your head! Oh! 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 Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh! Ah! Ah! Bitch! Oh, shut up! Oh! Oh my god, no! Buddy duo, oh my god! Oh my god, was this System of a Down playing in the background? Oh my god! Oh! Ah! Ah! Oh my god! What? Oh my god! They're like, what the fudge? The shirt came off! The shirt, oh my god! The shirt coming off! Oh my god! The abs! That kid realized his sexuality in that moment. No! Don't hurt him! I'm okay with that! Oh. Oh my god, that was insane. That was absolutely insane. I mean, how'd you figure it out? I use my power of shipping deduction. Oh, yes. Damn. Ah! He was so pissed off by their ship! I mean, I've been reading your damn fanfiction the last 3 months. What is happening? Rin's not denying the allegations! Look at him! Wow. Ah! What? Why? Wait, so Ryusei saying he's going to knock people up is okay? Stripper King! Stripper King! Oh my god! Isagi has the light Yagami music immediately playing. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, yeah, they help too. Yes! The trance dance! Oh, wow. Look at you, Isagi. You only got 2. You could send in 2. Oh. We're gonna have sex on the field. Oh. Wow. Okay. Okay. Wow, you could hear Reagan in that moment. That was weird to me. Oh, there we go. Oh. Good for you, Aiku. Shut the frick up! Shut up! And the flowers the same color as the uniforms? Oh. Oh, so Aiku is our final hurdle as we're tied up. Oh my god. What the fudge? Wow. I had the sound cranked up in my headphones, and this was an episode. Holy shit. The moment of, like, System of a Down playing. It sounded like Chop Suey at some point. And then it sounded like, oh god. What's the song I'm thinking of? Also sounded like, not Chop Suey, but Get Down with the Sickness. There we go. I was like, which honestly, Down with the Sickness would probably be something that Barou would play as he's like doing all his ab workouts. Oh my god. Insanity. Insanity. Da, da. So... Oh! Ah! Oh! Go ahead and try. Sidekick King! Oh. Alright. Ah! That's so weird, him saying that! Oh my god, Reen. Oh, Reen! I'm being the main character, not any of you! Oh my god, no! No, no, no! This is nightmare fuel! No! No, 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 no! No! my god. That is terrifying. Barou, Kieran. Barou, Kieran. Ah! Wait, what are you talking about? Oh my god. So, like, your therapy sessions with Rayo. Ah! Oh my god. Oh my god. Ah! Why is there an old man? Oh, is this Toki and Hiyori as a ship? Wow, world peace! Ah! Ah! That was friggin' amazing! Oh my god! Holy shit! Pulled out the extra Kool-Aid for this one because I feel I might need to be double-fisted for this. I'm sorry if I was so loud, but the sound in my earphones was cranked up and the music this episode was cranked up. So naturally I was like trying to match it and I was like, am I screaming at everyone? Probably. So, oh man, the one good thing that comes out of this is that I don't think we're done with Aiku's character. Aiku is like the final barrier. He is the final wall to bust down for our boys to be able to win this game. Because as intimidating as Sai and Ryusei are, which they are very intimidating, they are not the ones guarding the goal. And we've established now that we've caught up and it's tied 3-3, our Blue Lock boys have got to score this final goal in order to win the game. And I don't know. I'm like, are they going to go into extra time? Is it possible they can go into extra time? There's a lot of outcomes that can happen in this game. Either the U20 scores a goal and they lose, which could happen. It's Blue Lock. It could very well happen. Or two, it could be that Blue Lock scores the goal, making it 4-3 and they win. Or it could be next episode, since we're doing episodes 13 and 14 together, it could be that U20 scores a goal and then Blue Lock scores a goal and it's 4-4 and then episode 14 ends it and then we have the aftermath and then the prep for season 3. It could be all over the place. It could be a number of things, right? So I feel there's a lot of options of what they could do, but this episode was really good and I wanted to kind of bring Whiteboard Kun out because I wanted to talk about Aiku in relation to Sai. Because I think that they're both very similar in certain aspects. We have Aiku and we have Sai. And then we have, like, over here, we've established that, like, Nico has discovered that he likes being a defender. And that he is all about it. And then you have Rayo, who is currently a defender, but still wants to be a striker, right? He's not given up on that dream yet. And Nico has seemingly altered his dream, but is totally down with it, right? And I don't want to slander Nico. I don't want to slander Nico. I'm going to say this and people that are Nico fans are going to be like, what are you talking about? But I'm like, was Nico on the same level as... I don't want to say it because then everybody's going to be like, oh, but I'm like, is Nico on the same level as Nagi and Rin and Ryusei? No, not to me. Does that make his dreams any less valid? No. But I feel like maybe Nico's kind of like, look, I've seen the writing on the wall and I'm happy with this, right? But instead I want to focus on Aiku and Sai because I think that their two paths are kind of interesting. As far as the OP goes, do not worry. If I can't watch it, if the moderators tell me I can't watch it at the start, of next week's episode set, then by the end of episode 14, I will definitely watch it because I haven't been able to see it. I've been wanting to watch it and nobody's given me the green light. So I will check it out next week. Don't worry. Because I know people are going to be like, you have to watch the OP. I will watch the OP. So we started out with our dear different chromatic eyes Aiku, which now I kind of love it because it's like you have his one eye is green like the stem of a flower, and then you have his other eye is blue. Like, I just am finishing season 1 of Apothecary Diaries, so if you know about blue roses, there you go. But I feel like it's also tied to blue roses. So, and blue roses are kind of unique and considered impossible to grow, which I think fits the Blue Lock model really well. So I feel like our boy, he wanted to be a striker. So he wanted to be the best striker. And we could argue that Sai thought the exact same thing, that he was going to be the best striker. So they both start out young because, I mean, that's the goal. You're a soccer player. You think, oh, well, every position's kind of the same. And then they're like, oh, nice assist. Thanks for helping us and all this. And so for the sake of someone else, for the sake of the team, the grown-ups were always saying that this is why we do what we do. So I want to kind of point out this part here because I think that there is a lot of similarities with Aiku and Sai, but there are also a lot of differences. Right? So from an early age, we find out that Aiku had a talent for assists. He was really good naturally at defending. That's where he was really, really talented at. And as a kid, you know, when you're playing early stages of a sport, unless you've grown up in a family that like emphasizes that and has taught you from day one, like all the different plays and everything. You know, I played sports when I was in grade school, like t-ball, and I did play soccer for a year, honestly, when I was like 7. Did I know all the positions on the soccer field at age 7? God, no. I was like, they're just like, kick the ball towards the goal. And I was like, okay. It was very much like Blue Lock. They're just like, all you gotta do is try to score. Just try to score and help each other score. You all can do it, right? And my parents just literally let me play soccer for a year because it used a lot of energy up and I was exhausted by the time I was done, and they were like, good, mission accomplished. So I played it for like a year, but back then when I was a little kid, you don't ever know the technicalities and a lot of things. You're just playing to get a feel for the sport, to find out if you're any good at it, was not good at it, and to see if it's going to be for you. And then as you get older, you learn about the technical terms and the positions and everything and where you fit in at, right? But beginner camps are not designed that. Now, Aiku looks about 10 or 11 around here. He looks fairly like late elementary school, about to be in middle school is what he looks like. But at this point, the coach tells him that the coach says that, you know, focus playing around that area with you there, the strikers function better. So the coach says that Aiku is suited to be an assist. That's what he tells him to do, right? And Aiku's used to being told by adults where he should function at as a player on the field. And so Aiku, of course, is like, well, I want to be the best striker in the world. I don't want to be an assist. And he tells the coach, he says, I don't want to just get assists. And we see that one flower petal like falling. He's like, can I have a role where I score the goals? And the coach is like, he's like, where I get to play the style of soccer that I want to play. And the coach is like, no, you can't. And if, you know, and he says soccer is a sport where you win as a team. And if you don't play by our rules, then I can't put you in matches. And that's when Aiku kind of says, okay, fine. I want to keep playing. So I'll do what you want. And he says, yeah, sure. Like that whole way he says, yeah, sure, was like instantly like, fine, whatever, but I'm not into it. I love the visualization of the flowers that are cultivated and the flowers that are dropped on the ground. And the flowers dropped on the ground are the ones that are like bright and vibrant. And the ones that are in the box are the ones that are cultivated to play. Now, if you think about it, and I'm going to steal a drink of this because I'm saving this mostly for shipping, but do I think that every coach in every sport is trying to limit a player to where they're not capable of growth or blooming their talents? No. Do I think that every coach is trying to literally... You would think Yeah, I do feel like with the blue lock metaphor, it very much is targeted towards a teenage audience, I'm sure, or a young adult audience. But because they're framing like every adult coach as like being the epitome, of holding people back. And maybe in Japan that's what it is, but I don't think that every coach is like that. But I will say that from coaching myself, there are some students that are like, oh, I want to do this event. And I'm like, but your skills are not good in that event. Your skills are good in this event. So as a coach, I kind of understand where this coach is coming from. He doesn't phrase it the best at all, and he could phrase it a lot differently. But I do agree that I've had people on our team be like, oh, I want to do this event. And then they try it and they're terrible at it. And then they try this other event and they're amazing at it. I'm like, well, why don't you do this event where you're really good? And they're like, well, but I don't like it as much. And I'm like, but you're really talented in it and you could be amazing in it. And this other event, sometimes if you just don't have it, you just don't have it. And that's a hard lesson to learn as you grow up, is that some people just don't have the talent. And you can either do one of two things. You can either keep working at it and hope that it gets better and you get more talented, or you can find something you're really good at and kind of go that route. And I feel at first as a kid, Aiku was like, well, but you're discarding all of these flowers. It says all adults, and it shows them like clipping the flowers, only water the buds they allow to bloom. And as an adult, I feel like I want to challenge that a little bit. Now, of course, this is Aiku talking from the perspective of a kid, because his thing is that adults only water the chosen buds to bloom. And the ones, now he phrases it here saying that they don't allow the flowers they can't control to blossom. And if they can't control it, they don't take time with it. Now, that is very complicated and very complex, despite it seeming like it's very simple and straightforward, because I instantly thought of a number of things. Like, for example, I thought of Ryusei, and Ryusei being kind of out of control and Ego not knowing what to do with him. And Ego was considering taking him out of the game because he wasn't going to allow Blue Lock to do the best that it could. And Sai, on the other hand, was the person needed to allow Ryusei to bloom. So, sometimes people don't fit with certain programs and you have to go out and find the program that you do fit with, right? So that is an option in itself. The visual of the all white blooms surrounded by the brick wall where they're given like the cultivation and growing, and then the wild blossoms kind of being thrown aside. That's really interesting because I've watched a few other sports anime and I think of some examples. Like in Haikyuu, I think of Tendo. But Tendo, because Tendo was kind of a weird player in Haikyuu and he didn't really fit in with the team he was on. And then he went out and found a team that was like, yeah, we'll let you do whatever you want. Just score us goals and you can do whatever you want and play however you want to. And he was able to flourish in that environment. I also think of in Kuroko's Basketball, there is a character who is kind of a delinquent and he gets in a lot of fights and he has a really bad attitude, but he has talent. And there are two key characters in that series where the one character is like, I can't handle him. He's a hazard. Kick him out. And the other that's the senior to that character is like, because of his experience, he can relate to the delinquent character. And he's like, oh, no. He's like, we just have to like cultivate him and work with him and we can get him to go this way. And they kind of butt heads over it. So I feel like Aiku is suggesting that since the coach, I feel like Aiku is maybe a little wrong in this case, but I'm going to talk about it because he says that because his talent couldn't be controlled by the coach, that he wasn't allowed to be a striker. And watching this interaction, I kind of am like, I don't think the coach does it well. I don't think the coach phrases it properly. And I think he could have changed a lot of things about the way he says it. But he kind of says, but you're good at assisting. You have all these talents. Why wouldn't you? I feel like the coach didn't want to get the cart before. And maybe I'm giving the coach way more credit than he deserved. But I feel like the coach was kind of being like, because later on he's like, well, you could go pro. I feel like the coach was kind of saying, look, you have this talent. If you cultivate this talent, you could go pro with it. If you keep doing this one thing that you're clearly not as good at, you're wasting your potential as this other thing. So why would you, but it's like, how do you tell a kid that and explain the nuances of that to a child? So I'm giving the coach a little bit of benefit of the doubt and playing devil's advocate for him a little bit, because it sounds to me like in the scene that he's like, no, you have potential to be really good at this. Why would you not do it if it's right there in front of you? And why would you go towards this other position you're clearly not as cut out for? But we'll get to that in a second, right? We'll get to that in a second. And then it says that he looks at all the blooms soon you notice that all the flowers are identical. So what he's suggesting is that all of the strikers, he kind of like trash talk strikers a little bit, saying that all the strikers end up being these identical blooms and none stand out because you've cut those to the curb. He definitely trash talks strikers just a little bit in this episode, which is kind of funny considering that he once wanted to be like the best striker. And I don't know, I feel like in the series, my one criticism of Blue Lock is they kind of lump all adult figures with the exception of Ego, who's unhinged. They kind of do this like kind of power fantasy thing where they're just like, I know you're different and misunderstood. No one understands you, but Blue Lock understands you. And I'm like, they kind of phrase it to where, but here's the thing. The one thing that's kind of my criticism of Blue Lock is that they make all of these Japanese and maybe that's the point, that's Japan's coaches that are limiting the players. That's probably that's it. Because I was about to say, they make a point of making all the Japanese coaches sound like they're doing everything wrong. They're doing the whole system wrong. And that's why things are the way they are for Japan. Because then when you go to the like top 5, the world 5 that came in for the practice match, well, they clearly are successful and they're from organized programs with adults coaching them. But I guess what the creator is trying to get at is they believe that Japan's system is set up to create these cookie cutter carbon copy strikers that are, and they're not allowing players like Ryusei and Aiku the chance to grow. So that's probably what they're saying. I'm sure the comments are going to say exactly what I just told you, but I get it. I just want to make clear, as an adult coach, not all coaches are like this. But, I mean, they're team one. And I kind of feel like, at the same time, there's this idea, this concept of there's this growth here where suddenly Aiku becomes this indispensable part of the team because of his assists. Like they say, we're invincible with you around and we can do all these things because you're here. And it's kind of because the coach made him do assists because that's what he was talented at. He became somebody that could help them win. We're the best team ever. And he's like, soon I noticed that I'd forgotten how to bloom. And that part there, I'm kind of like, I get it. I get what he's saying. But at the same time, I'm like, your team won. Your team won because of you. Why you bitching? Like, I just one of those things. Like, I get the point about Aiku wanting to bloom. It's just very much kind of, there's a little bit of entitlement to that saying, because I'm like, if your team had been like Isagi's team at the very beginning of season 1, where Isagi's team lost because Isagi was required to be part of the group and part of the team dynamic, and their team was like subpar because the coaches were making them format to the team dynamic and making them go along with that, then yeah, absolutely. Like, that's Isagi's whole problem, is that the team that he was on was limiting his potential by telling him to play as a team, and they lost and weren't as good as they could be. But I'm like, Aiku, your team won a championship. You're bitching? I'm just kind of like, as a coach of a team, it frustrates me to no end when I have a team player that we win a championship and the team player's like, well, but I could have done better. And I'm like, sure, have that. I get that. You want your personal best to be your personal best. But I'm also like, you shouldn't be less grateful for a team win just because you didn't score as well as you thought you would. Y'all still won. Like, what? It's like when a kid gets a 99 on a test and they're like, well, I could have gotten 100. And I'm like, but you still got an A+. So be grateful. But I get where Aiku is coming from at the same time. I also get that he feels that even though they're being successful, that he feels like his potential is being held back. And I get that. I absolutely get that. It's just whenever he was like, you know, I feel like I wasn't able to bloom anymore. And I'm like, your team just won a championship. Like, okay. All right, Diva. Being a little bit dramatic, teenage boy. And then he's like, I'm not finding... And that's the thing that gets me, too, is when he's like, I'm not finding soccer as much fun lately. And I get that. I get that. I've had teammates on the team that I coach that they don't feel like they're having as much fun with the event anymore despite being successful because they aren't able to... It just... From Aiku, I feel like it can come from a place... I feel like I get where Aiku's coming from because he doesn't feel like he's living up to as much potential as he could. So I do get it, right? I get where he's coming from. And he's like, I'm not having as much fun despite being successful. And this coach is like, well, you know, you could go pro. You realize that. And he's like, going pro. And then he's like, oh, well, I can make decent money, marry a cute girl, and become somewhat happy. I do get a little bit, I don't know. I felt a little bit like, kind of like play a sad song on my violin for Aiku in this moment because I felt like, I'm like, Aiku, you're talented enough. And the coach just told you could go pro. And you're like, oh, I guess I could make money and marry a decent girl and be somewhat happy. I'm like, I feel like it's a little bit insulting to some of the players in Blue Lock we've seen from season 1 who wanted that goal and weren't talented enough to get there. And here you have someone like Aiku who's extremely talented, but he's just like, ugh, a normal life with a stable job and a happy marriage. Oh, I guess I could take it. It felt a little bit ungrateful, and I was like, bitch! I was like, what? I get that Aiku's just like, oh, but I won't be happy. And I was kind of like, I don't know. I'm in my 30s, so whenever I hear someone that's in their teenage years being like, oh, making 6 figures, but I won't be happy with it, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, cool. Work, bitch. So I'm just like, I feel like, I don't know. I get what he was coming off of. I get what Aiku's getting at is that, you know, it's all well and good to make money and have a good job. When you're not happy, then don't do it. And I totally get that. Like, there's no point in doing something. I'm living proof. There's no point in doing something if you're not going to enjoy it. Like, I could have been a lawyer, but I knew I could have been a tech writer and make 6 figures, but I knew that wasn't going to be what makes me happy. So I didn't do that. So I get where he's coming from. It just it comes across very juvenile the way he says it here because of where he ends up being by the end of the episode, right? By where he ends up being at the end of the episode. He's just like, and I like that his goal is the same as Sindo's, and, you know, he just helps Sindo later, but he's like, I guess I could go pro and make money. It's just that kind of, like, entitlement when he says that. I'm like, for you to knock off going pro and just being like, I guess I could go pro and marry a girl and have decent money. Like, I'm like, there's so many players that would love to be in your shoes that don't have the talent or ability to do so. So for you to just be so nonchalant and like kind of dismissive of it felt kind of ungrateful and very juvenile and immature. And I was kind of like, well, whoa now, Aiku. Like, let's back up a hot second. But then he kind of changes from there. And then he's like, do you think I could be the best striker in the world? Now this part was interesting because the coach is like, well, of course. You have potential. And he's like, oh, well, I don't think I can anymore. And he says, because I used to believe that I could, that part of me died before I knew it. And he's like, I don't want to blame the adults. And I did like this part where he says, it was my fault for not sticking to what I wanted to do. So Aiku says, I do think that is, I do kind of get a little bit frustrated at the coach at that point, if I'm honest, because I feel like the coach should have said something more, like, especially since it was the same coach. I feel like the coach should have been like, well, your strengths are with assisting. That's why we kept you on the team. That's what you're good at. But once you go pro, you can pretty much, you know, if you want to try to branch out and do different things, sure. You just have to have a foundation of skills. Like, and I would use speech as an example. When I was on my first 2 years on the team, I wanted to do certain events, and my coaches were like, no, that's not what you're good at. You need to do these events. And I was like, okay, well, you see where my strengths are, and you're going to help me cultivate those strengths. So sure, fine. And so I did the events that my coaches told me I was good at. I did well in them. And then my junior and senior year, I was like, hey, can I branch out and do these other things that I wanted to do? And they said, yes, you have those foundation skills, like not mastered, but they're like, you have those foundation skills at a proficient level. You know what to do. So sure, now that you can do that, you can take what you know and what you've kind of perfected in your own way, and you can branch out to other things and try that. And so I feel like if the coach had said that to him in this conversation and was like, yeah, now that you've gotten this part down, you can now that you've mastered the fundamentals, you can branch out and do these other things, and you know what you can fall back on if that doesn't work out for you. But he doesn't say that in the conversation, so it kind of did feel like a bait and switch. It kind of feels like a blow to Aiku's self-esteem, being like, sure, you could have done that all along. And he's like, but you told me originally that I couldn't do that. So the narrative writing in this scene is, it's not my favorite, but it's serviceable. I get what they're trying to do with Aiku's character. It gets better later on. The stuff with Sendo, I want to talk about when we get to it, because I love that. But it's fine here. It just, some of it feels very contradictory and kind of like not the best writing. So I'm like, it's fine. But I'm like, I would have done a few things different to kind of tweak it. As a coach myself, there are some parts of the coach's speech and Aiku's speech that I can fully relate to. And there are other parts that I'm like, if you were actually a coach on a team, I feel like you could have gave more insight to that scene. But that's just me. So Aiku says that he doesn't, he kind of blames himself for not following through. And he's like, let's put an end to my life as a striker. So I feel like that he's like, but coach, I want to become the best defender in the world. I think this is the part that's very interesting, because he feels like it's too late to be a striker. He's like, that dream died with both my coach's words and my own resolve. But he has this new dream, which is to be the best defender. Okay, which is the new defender, and that's something that is his own. But at the same time, I'm like, that's what the coach was trying to get you to realize the entire time. You do realize that, right? The coach was trying to get you to realize you're a defender, you can do assists. Is this really your own dream, or is this what the coach was trying to get you to realize from day one? It just took you till now to realize it. Like, that was kind of his whole goal the whole time. At least as a coach, that's what it feels like from my perspective. And then you just figured that out, and the coach is like, yeah, I've been trying to tell you that since you were a kid. Your strength is defending. Now, back here is Sai, what kind of is missing for us is that we don't get this idea of you had the talent for assists. We don't know about Sai's, like, he doesn't get confirmation as a kid from his coaches about being good at a certain thing. He just thinks he's going to be the best striker. Then he goes to Spain and is defeated and believes that he can't be the best striker, and instead decides to change to being a midfielder. Now, there's a lot of things that we don't know about Sai's story yet from the anime's perspective that they haven't revealed to us. Like, one, did Sai's coach be like, you're not going to be a striker? That's not possible. Did he tell him that, kind of like this coach told Aiku? Or did he find that out from playing himself and determine that realization for himself? What made him think he could be a midfielder? Did the coach tell him that? Did he realize that? I would be very curious, because this thing that Aiku suddenly realizes, I'm like, that's kind of what your coach was trying to get you to know from the start, and you just now dawned on it. Okay. But I'm like, did Sai, did he always have that idea about the midfielder, or where did that come from? And we don't exactly know yet about Sai as to what that is. He said, I'm going to be the best defender in the world. And the coach is like, what? And he's like, all those boring strikers you're mass producing. And he says, I'm going to crush them all as a defender. That's kind of where the from the coach is kind of like where the writing for me in this episode is a little wonky, because to me, I'd be like, that seems where the whole point was going from the start, that you're good at assists, you're good as a defender, you shouldn't focus on being a striker, this is where your talents are. And he's like, okay. And then he's like, oh, well, can I still be a striker? Well, sure you can. No, I guess I'll just be a defender. Why would you do that? It's just kind of weird. I'm like, I feel like there could have been it just felt like we need to make the coach the worst person in the world in this scene. But I'm kind of like, no, he was kind of right. He kind of saw the writing on the wall of where Aiku's talents were. and we should cultivate that. Like, okay. It was just a very oddly wrote scene from my perspective as an actual coach. It was an odd scene. It felt like we were trying to make the coach the bad guy and make us feel sympathy for Aiku, but then it's like what conclusion Aiku came to wasn't really his dream, but a dream that was cultivated by the coach that he had to realize. So I don't know. I'm sure I'll get a lot of flack in the comments for that, but I still love Aiku. He's one of my favorites, and I love his character. His flashback just isn't the best flashback we've had of the season. It's just a little contrived for me. And he's like, I'm going to let my flower bloom for me. And I'm kind of like, well, you really should have been doing that from the start. You did. I feel like he got into his own head when he was younger and had this flower metaphor kind of skewed, because I'm like, I just feel like the metaphor isn't exactly as good as it could be in this episode. Maybe that's it too. But he's just like, I'm going to bloom for myself and no one else, despite my dream role being cultivated by my coach at an early age. Okay, so yeah, he's like, but good for Aiku. Good for Aiku. You're gonna let your flower bloom for yourself. That's fine. And maybe that's where Sai is as well, as he's going to do this for himself. I feel like the one big difference between Aiku and Sai is that Aiku is fully on board with this dream for himself. He's fully realizing it. He's coming into his own here. And Sai still seems like he's questioning a little bit to find out, like, is this really what I'm doing? Is this really the right path? Is there anything else I need to do that's different? What have you? But yeah, but good for Aiku. He gets the ball over, and then we have Reen coming up there. And he's like, my team, our voltage is cranked up, our positions and theirs, my sensors are in overdrive. I love the idea of the spider web and him getting like the full, he's like, when I reach the max of my abilities that I've built up so far, I can see all these stats and everything. And he's like, this sensation. And he's like, the time to steal isn't when he kills. Like, I love he can sense everything using his abilities and all these stats. Anyway, so he's like, they're playing for themselves. They're annoyingly perfect for each other. Okay, so first tip off of the day is, we're going to put up here that as far as Reen times Isagi being a pair, we've got one for Aiku. Aiku thinks that they make a perfect pair. Look at them. Look at them being a perfect pair there. Yep. Mm-hmm. You're annoyingly perfect. And he's like, the Blue Lock Project. If it had started 3 years earlier, I would have been with these guys, still aiming to be a striker. Well, hell, Laganja Estranja, you just been aiming to be a defender for 3 years? Really? I love Aiku, but his writing is somewhat weird. So he's basically only had this dream for 3 years, which is still a while. He's 19, so since he was 16. These are teenage boys. They frustrate me sometimes. But yeah, so 3 years as a striker. But he sees that, like, if he had been in the Blue Lock Project, he would have still been aiming for this. And I'm kind of like, you could still aim to be a striker. Nothing's stopping you. You have convinced yourself that you need to be a defender. You've convinced yourself that you want to do this. Like, I'm just, Aiku's backstory and his logic around his character is a little frustrating to me, but it's fine. He's like, you're the other path that I didn't get to choose. I mean, and then he says that, and I'm like, well, but your coach just told you 3 years ago you could be a striker. And you said, no, I want to be a defender. So it's not that you didn't get to choose it. You chose not to go that route. You accepted that you're a better defender than a striker and made that decision for yourself. So I'm like, what? Aiku. Which you are as bipolar as your eye colors, my sir. Just, okay. All right, diva. Be that way. Okay. Maybe it's the translation too. And he's like, well, if you're going to have the dream that I didn't choose, then you're going to need to be better than me. And I'm like, okay, fine. Fair. Do that. And he's like, is he in the flow? And even Reen's like, oh, damn, this guy can sense everything. So he stopped their attack. And Reen's like, this is frustrating to a major degree. Okay. But then we get to Sai. And Sai's like, well, let's play the end credits. And I do not ship Aiku and Sai, but I do appreciate Aiku kind of being like, all right, little genius, turn it out for us. And even Sendo's like, fine, just do it. So, of course, Karasu, Tobito's like, let me help out because we need all the help that we can get at this point. And I will say this. The idea with Blue Lock is that we have our positions, but we are not limited to them. Which is, again, and maybe they're doing this with Aiku to show a fundamental difference with the U20s versus Blue Lock. Because with this, it's kind of the idea that, because Isagi gets all excited, because he's like, oh, we have multiple pieces on the board, we can do whatever. Isagi's whole thing is that he's saying, well, we can actually all be strikers whenever we want to, but we're also relegated to these positions because that's what we have to do on the field because of the rules. So it does go back to Ego's philosophy of you are all strikers, but you have this secondary role that you can fit into when you need to, which kind of goes to Nico being like all about it and Reo being like, I'm doing this because I have to, but I'm also a striker at heart. So Isagi is all about the pieces and using them across the board at any given time. Whereas Aiku seems to think that everyone has their role and you just need to be the best at it. Right? Which we'll come back at. We'll come back to that philosophy. And Sai seems to be like begrudgingly going around that route, but it is what it is. So yeah, I love them all. Whenever Bachara said climax at the end of this episode, that was the creepiest thing all episode. I just have to say it now while I'm thinking about it. But so yeah, and Reo versus Ryusei, yes please. Reo and Ryusei having their loves, Nagi and Sai, on the other side of the field. Like, good for them. Why Ryusei says amen with his angel wings, damn it. You know. But I like that Reo brings up his limitation, his ability. He's like, I can't copy Ryusei while I'm trying to look at Sai. Reo is trying to watch Sai to copy a Sai move. That's what he's trying to do. And so I don't blame him for wanting to watch Sai more than Reo. And he's like, well, how do we work with this? What's going to happen? And then when him going to get the ball and everything, I love that Geen. Does Geen access the zone? I feel like his eyes make him access the go zone. I can't take anything for granted now thanks to Kinyu, but good for Geen. Good for Geen using his ability. He uses a glam move with them glutes and them gams to block that ball. His Sachihoko fish kick. Jujubee would say that was pretty glam. I love that. Good for him. Good for him getting the ball back. And then Reo's like, what do I do? Reo copying Nagi with the move. I mean, should we be surprised? I hadn't thought of it, but then as soon as he started doing it, I was like, oh my god, it makes perfect sense. Who's the one person he knows better than anybody and has watched more than anyone? Nagi, of course. And I love that Nagi's like, nice job, Chameleon. I like that he calls him Chameleon and not Copycat, because it gives him a little bit more individuality, calling him a chameleon, and that being his move. Good job. And then Nagi is just so chill. Everybody here is freaking out, but Nagi is just so chill no matter what, that it's kind of like a moment of levity. Now look, everybody in this episode was making me anxious because everybody kept being like, we're gonna win. Here's our victory move. This is how we're gonna turn the tables. And I'm like, quit jinxing yourself. All of you, stop it. We can easily turn the tables and create openings. I'm like, oh my god. He's like, my ability. Isagi talks a big game about himself in this episode, and I love my little shrimp man. I love him to pieces. I want him to score the final goal. I really do. Do I think he will? No. But I really would like him to. But him being like, my ability to read the field is a huge advantage. I'm like, well, lots of other characters have that same ability, and it's a huge advantage to them too. So Isagi, what we gonna be doing? I also like that Barou's in the background behind him as he's saying this, like always within reach. And the one thing is, the whole time, Isagi is thinking, I have to find the spot where only I can score. This whole time. Isagi is dead set on scoring that damn goal and making it work. And I love it. I love that he is so driven. Even when, like, you could say he's in a state of delusion. But I love that he's thinking about that. And then Barou's like, I've got to keep devouring you. Now, the one player says that he thinks that he has Barou figured out because all he's trying to do is devour Isagi. But I'm like, you don't know the depths of Barou's hunger. And then I feel like at some point in the next 2 episodes, it's going to be Aiku versus Isagi. Because Aiku and Isagi, they're kind of the players that have the 2 ideologies that are kind of picking at each other. You have Aiku, whose ideology is, I'm a defender, this is what I'm doing. You all are the past, strikers are boring. And Isagi's like, look, I know that I'm just a little shrimp, but I'm a mighty little shrimp, but I'm going to be a striker. So I feel like, and plus we've been teasing the burglar and cop setup this entire time. So we've got to have a resolution to that at some point in the next 2 episodes. So they get towards the goal, and everybody's bracing for what they're going to do. And Aiku is just staring Isagi down. It's great. I love that we have Kurama and Teppei, and they have the puzzle pieces as the turf. So Isagi has 3 conditions. 1, he needs a spot where he can score from with his direct shot. Fair enough. 2, he needs a way to get the ball to Reen. And 3, he needs to make sure that Aiku can't predict what he's going to do. So the number 3 part is the hardest part, I feel, out of all of it. I need to catch those moments. But here's my thing. So Tobito joins the play and is like, hey, Tobito is down for an orgy. Tobito is like, oh, you need me to come in? I'll join your party anytime. I love it. And he's like, excellent timing. I love the little face that Reen makes for a hot second, like, did we say, like, it's almost like Reen's looking at Isagi like, did we say this could be an orgy? Are we okay with this? Are you fine with this? Like, it just felt like that for a hot second with the still. But good for Tobito. And so he's like, well, who am I going to pass to? And the thing is, Tobito passes to Isagi. He passes to Isagi. Reen would be like, nope. But Tobito and Isagi, they get the ball a-going. It's really great. And then they get the ball to Nagi. Nagi's good with handling it just about anywhere. And then he's like, okay, he gets it past Aiku. And he's like, I can go forward. And you think that everything's going to go well. And then the moment he's like, now all the pieces are in place. The moment he says that, I'm like, well, you've just jinxed yourself. Blue Lock, you need to quit jinxing yourself. Quit doing this. It's getting predictable. But then, of course, Sai shows up. Now, my thing with this episode is I'm like, Isagi, sweetheart, how did you not factor in Sai? How did you not? The guy that you're playing, the guy that's made the whole game so far, my sweet, sweet princely shrimp, how did you not predict that Sai would be in on this? And then Sai brings up, he's like, oh, so you're the heart of the team, huh? You're the one matched with my bro, huh? And I'm like, oh. Sai being like, I see how it is, brother-in-law. I was just like, Isagi, I love you. But how did you not see Sai coming? It was going to be Sai or Ryusei. How did you not see them coming? Like, come on now. How was he not in your vision? And then, of course, he has the moment where you think that everything's going to be bad. They're not going to be able to do anything. And Ego's like, it's almost like when Ego does this, it almost feels like Ego's flipping the screen off, being like, why do I have to come in and give you a motivational speech? Keep fighting to the last second, bitch. I love it. I love it, though. And then Isagi's like, well, I'm going to do whatever. And there's so many fake outs in this episode. Like, also want to make note, there was this really bombastic music during this moment. The moment Sai comes on screen, it instantly turns into, like, organs playing at, like, Phantom of the freaking Opera. Ryusei's over there with a half mask over his face being like, sing for me, my angel! I was just waiting for the Phantom of the Opera is here. I'm just waiting for it. Okay, now fan artists, I need Ryusei and Sai in Phantom of the Opera. Go. So, do this for me. But yeah, the organ music is just maybe my favorite. I just love the organ music with Sai. It's so villainous. It's so cheesy and over the top. It's so diva. I live for it. If soccer didn't exist, Ryusei and Sai would be doing it outside of the green room at every theater show on their university campus's Broadway production. Anyway, so the fake out is that you think that Isagi's about to go in the zone to reach out and score the goal, and he's like, I just need to hit my foot. I love Sai's little badger face where he's like, I don't want you to score. I thought that Isagi was going to headbutt it. I was like, just headbutt it. Crank that head, little shrimp, and just let her go. But nope, that's not what happens. And instead, I love that Iko's kind of watching the game like, is this going to happen? And then if you look over, like, Raichi is on... Okay, Chigiri is like, come on now. Nanase and Igarashi and Raichi are on their feet. Like, the one Corona, he's back there like, I guess something will happen. He, like, has not got out of his seat once. But no, Sai just bumps him. And it's like, well, you were easy to knock out of the way. I know who the top in this relationship is. Ah! And he's like, if your axis is off, your shot is dead. What I kind of liked about this scene so much is that Sai cannot help but be kind of a mentor in this. I mean, you could say he's telling him off, but he offers advice or gives commands, however you want to look at it, or mocks you, however you want to look at it. But he did offer advice to Isagi, because I feel like in that moment, Sai's like, well, you and I are kind of in the same position on the field. And he's kind of like using this moment to not only mock Isagi and be like, well, I'm better than you because I know that if your axis is off, your direct shot is dead. But I'm also like, you're telling your opponent ways to be better. Which is, I don't even think Sai realizes what he's doing. I think he naturally has an inclination, which we'll go back to when we talk about Sendo. We'll tie back around to this, don't worry. But he was offering, like, advice to Isagi of, like, if I were in your shoes, this is what I would do. And Isagi's meanwhile like, well, shit, the goal's right in front of me. What do I do? But then, as his face is, like, dissolving into puzzle pieces and it looks like the biggest horror movie nightmare fuel, then Rin comes in and is like, Isagi! Isagi and Rin come at it again when Rin shows up. And I love that Isagi's like, oh, right. The only person who hates Sai more than everyone else is Rin. And Sai's like, well, son of a bitch. Sai was the only one who predicted and believed in my perfect play. I think that's really important that Sai believed that Isagi could do it. But here's the thing. From playing with Ryusei, Sai believes in everyone's potential, oddly enough. He just, doesn't think some of it's going to be successful or not. But Sai is used to seeing impossible things being done through Ryusei, so why would he not think Isagi is capable of it? But also, the fact that Rin believed in it, I love it. And then Isagi's like, he believed in me! I've got to keep running! So he gets the ball over to Rin. I love Sai's face when he kicks it over to him. He's like, really, bitch, what? And then Rin gets it, but Aiku's on his trail. And it is weird, right, to see people who are comparable to Rin. Like, I still can't get over it because we spent, like, the entirety of the first season dealing with Rin being the strongest there is. And then we get to this season and Rin is constantly being challenged by Aiku and by Ryusei. It's such a wild turn of events, but it's a nice build from last season. And we obviously know from the World 5 that it's only going to get crazier from here. And more sexual. So yeah, that's when Rin's going to take the shot. And that's when Barou comes in. And Rin's like, son of a bitch, why are you here? And Barou, the funny part is that Barou has the body. He's got the bare bod. He's got to show off. I like that Barou is a very physical person, both in his attitude and also taking off his shirt. Whereas on a spiritual and psychological level, Ryusei is talking about fucking the field. Barou looks like he might actually do it, even if he's not trying to. But he's like, I'll feast on you, Isagi. Show. And he's like, your light is mine. Oh my god. And the music that played during this moment, and freaking Barou became Alucard from Hellsing Ultimate. Barou literally became something out of Hellsing. Like, the way he's drawn, he looks psychotic. I feel if you just showed somebody a clip of Barou scoring this goal, or Ryusei scoring their goal, like, off cuff, like, out of context, they'd be like, what the fudge are you watching? You're like, Blue Lock, it's our normal Sundays. It's just so extreme. It's insane. And yeah, the idea of the lion roaring, the king, and everybody's just like, oh, well, oh my god. And Isagi's like, damn. Isagi's like, alright, cool, good for you, Barou. And then yeah, Barou instantly takes off his shirt. Like, instantly, like, the fan service of Barou, dim glutes, dim abs, dim shoulders, all them prep days, they were not wasted. I was like, oh, the goal, right? And then I love that the one guy who was rooting for them, like, smashes his beer in midair. The one girl, like, she spills her champagne, like, oh my god, he's hot, this is amazing. Like, that's rooting for them. Bachira's mom and Isagi's parents are like, oh my god, how fun. Everybody's cheering from all the different locations. This one kid suddenly questioning his sexuality at age 8. Like, it's just great. Yeah. Awesome. Barou is so jacked. He's literally Hugh Jackman in this. Oh my god. Yeah, this kid just questioned every ounce of his sexuality in the bench. Uh-huh. You better believe it! Yes, we've converted another. And then I love that Nagi is so gentle in his cheering. He's just like, yay! And on him, and Tobito's got his hands on him. Tobito's like, do you want to join our orgy? Like, Tobito's like, yes, my ship is sailing. Tobito's touched him. It's official. I'm one step closer to Tobito and Barou shipping. I'm so excited. But I love Isagi's face when he's just like, holy crap, how did you score that? Like, damn, man. He's just like, oh, like, can I touch your pecs? Like, it's just, oh, it's so great. And Barou's like, I love that Barou, like, throws, oh, okay, Barou threw Nagi to the ground. Get your hands off of me. Okay, so he threw Nagi to the ground. Nagi's like, the fudge man. I'm surprised Rayo didn't burst through the field to kill him after that moment. And Isagi's like, oh my gosh. And then Tobito, like, jumps away like, he's aggressive. He's like, it doesn't make a difference how I did it. My number one priority is to hunt you down and devour you from beginning to end. And Isagi does not question that logic. Isagi doesn't question, oh, who told you to devour me, to eat me? Who told you that? No, he doesn't question the allegations. He doesn't even question he's just like, okay, cool. But how did you disappear? How did that work? These cannibals, the lot of them. And Barou's like, look, I was forced to disappear because everybody else around me, he's like, was getting in my way and neutralizing everything. He's like, you kept evolving and I couldn't keep up. They wouldn't let me. So, and Isagi's like, well, how'd you know I was evolving? How'd you know I was making these plays and developing? And he's like, well, there's one person who can link up with you. Yep. Uh-huh. One person, y'all. Guess who? It's Rain, bitch. It's Brittany, bitch. I was like, I love that Barou just comes out and says he's like the biggest Isagi Rin shipper. And Rin's over here like, who, me? Rin's like, I'd blush if I could, but I'm horrifically pale. He's like, I knew he'd react to your evolution. Isagi's like, wow. I waited for the last pass for you. I love that in any other context. What I love about Barou's relationship with Isagi, and now Isagi and Rin, is that if this were a BL, Barou would be like, I saw you hanging out with him. I saw you two frolicking in the light, and so I waited in the darkness so I could consume both of you. Like, I'm just like, what the fudge? But Isagi's like, that was such a great idea. He's like, I waited for the last pass for you to reign in the darkness. And he's like, eye twitching. I love it. I was losing my mind. And Isagi's like, but how'd you visualize? Isagi is not questioning any of this. He's just like, but how'd you visualize it? Like, that's such a cool thing, Barou. But how'd you do that? And he's like, but Rin's movement and positioning. And he's like, what are you talking about, donkey? Didn't I explain it? He's like, you and Rin are, okay. open this up, this second one up. Just crack it open. I'm gonna get Kool-Aid everywhere, but it has to be done. I just like Barou just started the whole, like, the fan club is over. Like, what? How do we? Okay, there we go. You have to, like, literally, you gotta suck the tip for it to work. This whole series is too sexual. I hate it. I don't hate it, but I'm like, what the fudge? Anyway, he says, you and Reen are so in sync. You're practically two hearts beating as one. And Isagi's like, oh, wow, really? I was living for all of this. Oh, my God. And Reen's just over here like, Reen's face being like, so we are beating as one, huh? So it's not just me. Okay, everybody else starting to catch on? Okay, cool. Reen, it's over. You can't beat the allegations of you and Isagi anymore. You just can't, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the next step would be Reen being like, he's like, well, we need to split up Isagi because people are starting to label us together as a pair. We're soon going to have a couple's name. Yeah, I just him glancing over like, what? What? He's like, in my eyes, Reen is also Isagi. And Isagi's like, oh my God. This episode is a shipper's dream. A shipper's paradise, y'all. I'm just, and Tomato's over there like, okay, all right. He's like, I'll take that. And Nagi's like, yeah, so that's what, he's like, so at the end of an obsession, you start shipping people together, and that's where you go. Okay, cool. I can't. And then Barou's like, as if you could ever understand me. You're in an obsessive relationship yourself, and you don't even realize it. And then the guy's like, put your clothes back on, sir. Son, put your clothes back on. I love that Nagi's like, wow, Stripper King. Stripper King is amazing. And I love that Tomato's like, you're impossible to understand. My ship, it still lives. Tomato's got his hands in his pants after that scene. You make out what you will with that. My ship thrives. It lives on. And Isagi's like, oh my God, wait. His goal was born out of Barou's obsession. Mm-hmm. He's like, but that wasn't the only thing that made it possible. And the music that came on whenever Isagi's like, that wasn't the only thing that made it possible, was something straight out of Death Note. It was something like Yagami would have had playing behind him as he's like, but actually, here was my real plan. Like, it just, oh my God. I cannot, y'all. And he's like, everybody working together, everyone involved in that play, rising to their own challenge. It became a trance train. So then he realizes that trance, having faith in someone's flow and going with it. Just becoming one as a collective. The hive mind activate. That's what we gotta need to defeat the U-20. I'm like, oh, Isagi. And it feels like he's going in the zone. So it just, I love this episode. It's so good. So the manager's like, well, do I sub people in? And Sai's like, that would be a really dumb play. Sai's essentially like, good on Sai. Sai's like, look, your team's good. We can fight. Don't be an asshole. Is essentially what he tells him. I'm just a mere player, but don't do something boring like put in subs. Plus, none of them had any screen time, so they're all red shirts. Literally. But yeah, he's like, if you want to call yourself a manager, feel the fire that's with us right now. Okay, now look. Here's the thing. I may think that some of Aiku's flashback logic is a little contrived, and that's my own jam. But I will say this. This second part of the episode, where him and Sendo have the conversation, is chef's kiss. Like, both him and Sendo is like, I just want the hot wife and the job and everything. And Aiku's like, I had that dream once too. Till I realized bisexuality was a thing, and now I've been enlightened. But no, in all seriousness, whenever Aiku's like, are you frustrated, Sendo? And Sendo's like, well, of course I am. He's like, same here. They really are something, that blue lock. And he's like, we're still level. And then when Aiku puts his arm around the shoulder, the traditional yaoi arm around the shoulder, and he's like, the stronger his foe, the more fired up the star player gets when he rails against the world. And he's like, and then he says, the star team player is you. Now, is Aiku just being a little bit manipulative and saying it to Sendo to get him fired up? He could be. But I love the idea that he's like, my job is also to cultivate blooms, to not only make my own talent bloom, but to cultivate that around me. One of my favorite quotes in sports anime is from Haiku, and it's from my favorite character, my little Trikawa, my Oikawa, my favorite character in Haiku. It is from him, saying that instinct is something you polish, and talent is something that you bloom. And yes, so in this whole series talking about talent and blooming and positions, it all is very detailed and complex, because I realize that I may sound a little bit hypocritical compared to like Sai's conversation in the previous episodes about Sai settling and deciding to do this whenever we could argue all day about it, honestly. But at the end of the day, what I do love about this is, as a captain, it's not just about Aiku anymore. Where when he watches, he's like, I'm not going to play soccer for anyone else ever again. That's what I swore. But if there's a striker struggling to bloom in this country, and we see the little bloom that is the same color as the lettering on their jerseys, and it's clearly supposed to be Sendo, he says, I'm going to be someone who can offer my hand and tell that bud to bloom. I do love the idea, despite everything I've said this episode with the commentary, that at the end of the day, Aiku's like, I'm not going to be the one to prune something. I'm not going to be the one to prune talent from growing. I'm going to help it bloom, and I'm going to give positive reinforcement to help make it better and help encourage them. He's like, because I know what it feels like to feel like my talent was cut short, and I'm not going to do that to someone else. I'm going to be there to help them bloom. And that seems like such a stark contrast to Sai, because you have over here Aiku saying to Sendo, being like, yep, we're going to keep blooming, and he's trying to bloom Sendo's talent. Whereas Sai, back with the conversation in Night Snow, seemed like he was almost clipping. Well, but that's not entirely true, right? Because he wasn't clipping Reen by saying that Reen couldn't become the best striker, but he was saying that you need to become the best striker without me. So, what it actually is that Sendo, Aiku is trying to help alongside Sendo by saying that, hey, I'll be the defender, you be the striker, and we'll help each other. And we'll work together in this symbiotic relationship. Whereas what Sai is saying to Reen is that you could become the best striker, but you can't be with me to do it because you're too reliant upon me. Whereas Aiku is offering support not through reliability, but through a different means. And it's hard to compare and contrast them together because one, Aiku and Sendo are not related. They don't have the same history that Sai and Reen do. And they're not coming from their positions from equal places. So it's very complicated and complex. That's what I love about Blue Lock, is that we can make these comparisons, but at the same time, there's still a lot of differences. But I love that he has his hands around Sendo. Honestly, the shipper in me is like, Aiku is like, I wanna help Sendo, get my hands on him, but it's not time yet. Just like Sai's like, it's not time yet with Ryusei. But he's like, no, first he's like, I can't help Sendo until we have to beat this game. It's like, I'm the last wall to be conquered before Japanese soccer can be reborn. And so he's like, surpass me, Blue Lock. And I kind of love that. I love the idea that Aiku, I have a sense that if Blue Lock wins, Aiku is not going to be upset. He's going to be like, okay, maybe Blue Lock can help change the rules and make this a whole new game, and we can function in a new way with it. Maybe that'll all work out. Like, I feel like Aiku is kind of like, we can change the way Blue Lock is run, and this will work to our benefit. But I also love that Aiku's like, I'm not giving up, and I'm not going to just let you waltz in and win. I'm going to fight you till the very end, so get ready. Like, I love that. That part is amazing. I'm 1,000 times here for it. But, and we got to get past Aiku. The burglar's got to get past the cop for it all to work out. So, we have 15 minutes left. I let Barou put his shirt back on. He's like, shine some more, donkey. Let your energy burst and I'll devour you and become the leading man. And Isagi's like, sure, Jan. He's like, try sidekick king. I love how much their relationship has grown. Barou and Isagi have grown so much in this series. And then Nagi's like, I'll score a goal for us. And then Kinyu's like, I'm still here. And then Bachara says that climax phrase. But everybody's all getting ready. And Reen's just like, you're not taking this serious enough. I don't know. I am a little bit worried about Reen. Because Reen is not just viewing beyond the game with his brother and seeing like the future of Blue Lock. Reen is still very much trapped in the I have to beat my brother mentality. So, of course, in the climax of the season, in the last 15 minutes of the game, they're gonna come at us with Reen and Sai and their whole drama. And I'm like, Reen, are you gonna mess this up? Are you gonna mess this up? Because he's like, this is my game. I'm gonna defeat him and carve my name into the world. And maybe you will. He's like, this is my story. I like that Reen is just like, I'm actually the protagonist of this series. We're like, what? I mean, you are. You're one of them. But, Okay, so I'm going to hope that Reen does not mess this up for all of them and that everything's fine. We're going to hope. Look, the Barou Maid Cafe is the ultimate nightmare fuel. It is the ultimate nightmare fuel. It is terrifying, but I loved this additional time so much. The Barou Kyun, Barou Kyun. Like, absolutely insanely adorable. I'm totally here for it. It's insane. And this is how Nagi and Isagi are imagining things in a maid cafe. I love that Isagi and Nagi are daydreaming about Barou in a maid outfit at a maid cafe. And then when Barou finds out, he's like, I'm going to kill you. And then Hiyori at the end's like, oh, Barou Kyun. Adorable. Because Hiyori's like, what are you doing? And I didn't know if the series was trying to ship Barou and Toki. Because Toki's like, I'm so stressed. And Barou's like, here's what you do. Also, Barou with his hands on the desk, leaning down with his ass in view and all those muscles. What? But yeah, Toki is like, I just don't have any confidence in myself. And he's like, well, you had to pump up your self-esteem. Word choices. He's like, my self-esteem, I'm doing great. Good job, me. He's like, wake up and go to the bed early and do lots of things that make you happy. I love the green color. He's like, and start the end of the day with your love towards everything. I love Barou Kyun. I love that Nagi does it this way. Isagi does it this way. And then they're like doing it with like, Isagi does it with the little girl. Nagi's holding the old man. And then Hiyori is there with Toki. I'm like, are we trying to ship Toki and Hiyori? Which, Toki and Hiyori, actually a really good ship. Toki's anxiety would be calmed by Hiyori. I'm all for it. And then they're like, Barou Kyun! Adorable. And then it's like, world peace. Oh my god. And I love Nagi being like, wow, world peace. Like, yippee! And Barou's like, I'm going to kill both of you. I love these, like, I love Barou in peace. Hiyori looks so precious. He's such a bean. The most innocent of beans. Love them so much. Yes. So, anyway, I don't mean to rain on the parade with Aiku. I love Aiku's character. I love where he ends up in this episode. As a coach, I have some conflicting ideas about the flashback, but that's just because of my perspective. So I still love Aiku's character, and this episode was amazing. And I'm sorry if I broke your eardrums by screaming into the mic. But, oh my god, next week is the last 2 episodes. It's gonna be an hour of fun plus the discussion. I'm gonna be so excited, and we'll get to see the OP hopefully by then. So yeah. Anyway, I'm super excited. I hope you all are as well. But I'm so excited to hear your comments down below. But let's get our shipper goggles on. Let's get our Kool-Aid jammers ready, and we'll be ready next week for episode 13 and 14. Of Blue Lock. See you guys next week. Take care, and I'll see y'all then. Bye.